Good afternoon. How's everybody doing today? All right. First off, I would like to thank you all for coming out. We appreciate you taking time out your day to come and address the public safety officers of the city. They work diligently to make sure that you are all safe, secure. If there's anything that you all need, that we can answer the call. And so right now, we're going to just listen to the candidates that are coming up for this election and see what they have to say about bringing different resources and their skill set to the city. We're going to open with a prayer from Reverend Brown.
Lieutenant Brown, are you in the house? This is our fire department chaplain.
Great. God bless you all. Let us bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another opportunity to come before your throne of grace. We ask you for mercy. We ask you for grace. Cover this city in the blood of Jesus Christ. We declare over this city that this shall be called Glory, Indiana. We pray for your wisdom, your knowledge, and understanding. We pray for all our city officials, Father. Cover them in the blood. Give them the wisdom to lead and guide us, God, and to instruct us. We pray for the police department and the fire department, Father. We speak blessings and peace over this city. Your words say violence shall no longer be heard in your land. You said our land should be called beautiful. You are married to us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you for that. So the way this forum is going to work, we're not politicians. We don't do this all the time. Our bread and butter is helping you out in your time of need. So we're not going to fake it like we know exactly what we're supposed to do up here. But we're going to turn the floor over to you because you all are saying that you want to represent us and let you all speak to us. And we'll bring any questions and concerns that we have during the time that you come up, any questions that we have for you. During this forum, we said 5 minutes to open. You don't have to fill it up. We have a lot of people here, so if you have what you want to say, it's not mandatory that you fill it. If we have any questions for you, we'll ask them of you, and if we don't, then we can go ahead. We'll thank you, and you can move on to your closing statement. Okay? We're going to start with the mayor's seat first. We understand that you all are busy and have a lot going on, so we're going to try to go the mayor's seat, first district, and on down and work everybody out. Okay? So we're going to give the floor to Mayor Prince.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming out today. I want to first thank Mr. Tillman and 359, and of course the chairman, Mr. Benford, for arranging this opportunity for us to present our candidacies to you. I also want to acknowledge all of the candidates that are here, whether you are an incumbent candidate, a first-time candidate, or someone who maybe has run before and chose to be a candidate again. I think it's important that as many people as possible participate. Let me share with you, about 24 years ago, at the age of 34, I got involved in local government as a precinct committee person. At that time, I had no aspirations to be a council person or mayor or anything of that nature. I simply wanted to, A, get engaged in my community, secondly, set an example for my 4 sons, but also create an opportunity to be the example and encourage others to get involved. And so as I look out today, I'm pleased, at least from that perspective, because in 1998 or 99, the year after I ran for precinct committee person, I ran for council person, because I understood that you need to actually be engaged and sometimes be in a position in order to be most effective. In 1999, when I won the office of council person at 34 years old, myself and Kyle Allen were the youngest elected officials in the entire county. And at that particular time, it was my desire to encourage my generation and those who came after us to get engaged. And so as I look across the room today and I see the various candidates and various generations of candidates, I'm pleased that there are more people getting engaged. Listen, I'm going to just share a couple things with you. And first is the overall vision of this administration. And also, I'm going to ask at the end of it that you take consideration of my candidacy. But in doing so, I want you to do it from the perspective of what we've been able to achieve, not the promises and things that I can share with you or that I would share with you today. Because another practice that I've made over the last 23 years is I don't make a bunch of promises, right? We look at the issue. We first have to identify what the challenge is in order to properly address it. And I believe that's what we've done. But the overall vision for our administration is to make this a destination city as well as a technology hub. But in addition to doing that, we want to attract more residents and certainly provide greater pathways to whatever our residents and businesses alike want to see. We sum it up by calling it Reimagine Gary. And what that means is imagining a city that operates properly, that functions, and where your government leaders, school representatives, and of course, the residents. I started off earlier mentioning that it takes all of us. And to that extent, I believe the residents have to be an integral part in any thriving city. It's particularly important here in the city of Gary because, as many of you know who've lived here for a number of years, there are a number of challenges that exist. And I certainly won't bore you with all of those because you know them probably more than I do, or at least as well as I do. But what I will tell you is that each and every day we get up and we address them head on. We never use the issue that we don't have enough resources in order to do this, although that's a fact. We try to find a better way to engage and provide the services that our citizens deserve and certainly that they expect. There's a lot that we could say about where we've been and where we want to go. I believe a lot of these forums, and particularly this one sponsored by 359, is somewhat, at least based on the questions that you all provided us to answer, is somewhat geared towards what our vision is and what our focal points are for the Gary Fire Department. And hopefully some of the questions that we'll receive today will specifically deal with that, as I'm prepared to answer those for you also. But again, I want to say thank you, Mr. Tillman. Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to the questions.
Okay, I'm going to get right to the elephant in the room for a lot of the members on the department. We haven't had a contract in 20 years this year. During the last election, that was a point of contention for the members, and that was one of the things that we said we were going to work on during this last term. We submitted a contract proposal to you and your administration in 2021, and we've yet to receive a response. We've had several conversations since then about the same matter, and no response.
So let's be clear, the response was no contract, right? And to that extent, we've certainly had conversations about it. We've met some of our employees or representatives from the law department, certainly have sat down with some of your guys also. But the point is, and I think the most salient point, as you mentioned, is that you haven't had one for 20 years. And there's a reason why. Whatever the reasons were that occurred prior to this, I'm not fully aware of them, and I don't think that they're really relevant because what we're talking about is during this administration. Let me just say this. I will always continue to support and advocate for a collective bargaining agreement or collective bargaining, if you will, in this particular instance with the fire department. But it's important to note that it has to be done so, right, within our ability to perform or deliver one based on our financial or fiscal position. Up to this point, there really hasn't been an opportunity to provide or at least to fully execute the agreement that you're speaking about and that you all see. What I can tell you, what we've been able to do is provide an unprecedented 15% raise over the last 3 years. We've also been able to increase the pension base to $73,000. in addition to trying to provide the equipment, resources, and other support that you need on the fire department. So while we haven't been able to achieve that collective bargaining situation between this administration in the 3 years that I've been here, note that 2 of them were with COVID, but who's counting? But the point is that I continue to remain open and receptive to it. And I think the most important part is that my administration and you certainly have been a gentleman, and the folks that work with us, we want to make sure that everyone approaches it in the best sense of good faith.
So the 12%, there was an article with you going after the council about the 12% rate. This is the funny part about what's going on. And we're trying to work with the administration. A lot of the flack that we've been getting is going through the council in order to get our voices heard, because we don't feel like that with the current administration. So what would you say to a member to say, why would we want to invest in you for another term?
Sure, that's a great and it's a fair question. I don't specifically recall the article, but I recall the spirit in which whatever statement I made was. The point is that I would have rather much approached the raise through collective bargaining conversations, right, versus just blanketly approving a raise. Ultimately, it has to come to the mayor's office to sign, and at that point, there was absolutely no opposition to it. I'm glad that it passed. Part of what we do certainly doesn't entail or include or require direct or unilateral decisions by the mayor. We have to have dialogue between the council as well as the mayor, who ultimately has to sign off on it. But in this instance, the 12% certainly wasn't something that I opposed. I opposed the approach that was taken to it. Thank you.
Last question.
Yes, sir.
If you are to be reelected, what advice would you give to Local 359 to better work with you to be able to get a response? Because I'm hearing what you're saying today, and I understand the sentiment that you're giving, that you didn't do things due to other reasons, but that was not communicated. So, how would you tell us to bargain with you in the future to get a response?
That one's really easy. I would say start with me, right? Instead of going to, and not that you all did it, but I would imagine there was at least a degree of dialogue prior to whatever it was that you ultimately received. Once I knew about it, 12% was it. You guys were under the impression that it was going to be automatic. And so the best suggestion I could say would be to start with the administration, right? Whether it's me directly or the deputy mayor or chief of staff, we're always willing, as I've proven to you over the last 3 years, to sit down with you and have any discussions. You, as well as many of your members, have my direct number. And all I suggest is use it. Text me, call, or come over to City Hall, and we'll continue the dialogue like we have to this point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, our next mayoral candidate would be Daniel Walls.
Hello, everybody. I know that I am a new face. I am not a politician, but instead I am running my campaign as the people's mayor. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you for the invitation to come here. I would also like to say thank you to the Gary Fire Department and fire departments all around the world for what they do and how they serve, because it is a very important and vital job. When I was growing up in Gary, we had Gary Community School Corporation. We had after-school tutoring programs and outreach opportunities and events where everyone and anyone could be involved if they so chose to be involved. Activities in the community was on a wide scale. My question is, where has that gone? Where has the community involvement gone? For some reason, Gary has chose to get away from the community involvement. I truly believe Gary could be the greatest city on earth. Gary is not what he used to be. Because when we talk about what Gary used to be, we talk about the 90s, the 70s, and the 80s. Nothing is like the 90s, the 70s, and the 80s. This city can be better than what it used to be. Too often we hear about the past of Gary. What about the future? What about building a new infrastructure, bringing in new businesses and new opportunities for the community and the people of Gary? That's the Gary I believe in. That's the Gary we will have if I am elected mayor. I also feel a strong need to say that Gary has to stop tying up its resources inside gas stations, casinos, and etc. When we have county police officers, Maryville police officers, Crown Point police officers, Lake Station police officers dealing with Gary City matters because our resources are tied up. These bogus contracts actually prevent the community from growing and developing. At the same time, when we have our police officers tied up in these contracts, we could be having local security companies taking on these contracts and maintaining employment throughout the city. Gary Police already has a contract. The contract Gary Police has is with the city of Gary, the people of Gary. Prince is a nice guy. I can't deny that. I won't deny it. Prince has nearly hundreds of endorsements from businesses that want to keep Gary the way it is. These businesses have property throughout the city, never maintain them, and never have repercussions for not living up to the community standard, something we have to get away from in order to move this city forward. On the other hand, we have Senator Eddie Melton, who is also a nice guy, but quite frankly gives me just another politician vibes. No, I'm not here for a smear campaign, but instead the people's campaign. I am not just another politician. Matter of fact, I am not a politician at all. And on the other hand, I am not the same old thing that Gary has seen. It is time for a change in the city. It is time for the city to be developed. It is time for the city to be back on the map for the right reasons. And it's time for the men and women of law enforcement and healthcare to get the resources they deserve. One of the issues I'll be elected to tackle is Gary is still stuck in the past. We have so many old, unnecessary, rundown buildings where we can be putting up new infrastructures, bringing in new businesses and new opportunities for the city. In order to move Gary forward to the future, we have to be willing to let go of the past. The city has too often been smeared. The name of it has been beat up and drugged through the mud. It's too often been underlooked and overlooked and deprived of its resources and development and growth. But how did this happen? How is it allowed to continue to happen? To happen no more. The crime is out of control. The poverty is out of control. The resources, there are none. The trust in the city's leadership and officials has been dwindling since the beginning of time. Well, I'll leave you with this. Time to restore Gary is now. I am running my campaign as a people's mayor, and that's my promise to you, is to be the people's mayor if I am so elected. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walls.
Yes, sir.
You made a comment about police and having security contracts with, I guess, civilian security personnel.
Precisely.
Have you talked with the FOP about doing things like that?
No, I haven't, but that is one of the things that I plan on doing. Get more engaged with the community to figure out what is necessary to move the community forward as far as businesses and entrepreneurs and small businesses are up, and moving on to get the community in a better shape than what it is.
What would you say in your private life
Yes.
makes it where you feel as if you'll do a better job than the candidates coming on? Like when it comes to communication, working humbly with different organizations, seeing what they have to say about it. That's a big thing for us.
Yeah.
And so coming in and bringing your own agenda has been a problem in the past without consulting with the community.
Precisely. Yeah. So that's, once again, that's one of the things, the primary thing that I am running my campaign on, and that's being the people's mayor. It will be much more community involvement for the sake of the community. Too often the community has been overlooked and once again underlooked. A lot of your needs have not been met because you have not been heard. So in my administration, my goal and responsibility would be to hear each and every person out and try to move forward toward a better future for Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Wall.
Thank you.
Can we have Andrew Delano? He's the Republican candidate for the mayor office. We're a special interest group, so our thing is to listen to to work with who would listen to us for our goals. So we don't have any, boundaries, top party boundaries on who we'll work with or who we'll support. We support those who bring the best thoughts and ideas to the city, and especially for public safety, considering Local 359, the FOP. We're going to step it up this session to work together to make sure that we hold people accountable in these offices. So with that being said, Mr. Delano, you have the floor.
Hello, my name is Andrew Delano. I was born in Munster, Indiana. I grew up in Hammond most of my life. And I moved to Gary about 10 years ago. And it's been an amazing experience, my time here. There's been a lot of stuff that's gone on that has really given me a new perspective on the city growing up in Hammond. Gary wasn't the best place to be. And I work in the real estate industry, and I understand that. And I understand that the city has a problem maintaining population, maintaining residents. And taxes are where most of the city's revenue comes from. If we don't have property taxes, we don't have a fire department. We don't have a police department. We don't have any of that. And the city has been struggling to collect taxes, as I'm sure Mayor Prince, wherever he is, could tell you at his time during being the Calumet Township and Lake County assessor on how many people would appeal their tax assessments and how many people didn't. But I'm honored to be running for mayor of Gary on the Republican ticket, and I'm a strong believer in free markets. I take a lot of my economic beliefs from the Austrian School of Economics, if you're familiar with that. And I believe strongly that private industry, free markets, are how you build a city and a society. We can't just take things from people forever and expect people to stay. We have to have proper fiscal responsibility to make sure that we do take in what we can maintain and that we're not overtaxing the population and pushing them out. And quite frankly, I'm afraid that we're continuing down that path as a city, that we are taxing businesses out. Case in point is Menards just purchased a large lot on the corner of Ridge Road and Pine Avenue in Griffith. Gary's going to lose its only Menards store. We're losing a lot of that revenue. And we are bringing businesses in. The economy has been very strong. And I will say that Mayor Prince has done a good job, but he's also had one of the strongest economies in housing markets in over a decade. And for the first time as a real estate investor, I can tell you property values are actually at par with the assessments. As many of you know, if you're taxpayers, the assessments have been out of whack for a long time because the property values in Gary have been so low. And I want to encourage private investment to come into the city. That is the only way we're going to maintain a fund to fund the fire department. We can't fund a fire department with no tax base. And I'm excited as a real estate investor to see people coming in where I was buying properties 7-8 years ago for $500 at a tax sale, and the county was assessing them for $40,000, $50,000, $80,000. That does not encourage investment. That discourages investment. I have talked to other real estate investors, and for years, a lot of them did not want to touch the city of Gary. And that's why, as the fire department, I'm sure you're well aware how many vacant houses get set on fire. I see it constantly. That's lost potential revenue for the city. That's money that could be coming in, and in some cases, I've seen those houses, even after fire damage, investors come in, buy them up, fix them up, after tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage has been done. We need to protect that. The real estate is the asset that is funding most of the city operations. Residential, commercial. Residential is a huge part of it. We do get money from them. We get money from truck stops. We get money from all kinds of different industrial operations that still are here. But residential real estate is the backbone of a lot of the tax revenue that we're collecting. And if we don't protect those people, protect the value of their property, not only from fire, but from being overtaxed, and we don't learn to spend within our budget, we're going to have trouble. The city of Gary has less than 70,000 people. The last time the population was that low was in the 1920s. So we need people. We need people to come into the city, to live, to work, to want to be here, and not always want to look for the exit because things are so bad. And I want to change that. I want to encourage the private sector to invest. That's my experience. I'm not a lifelong government employee. I haven't been in the state senate. I haven't been in the county government. So I don't have that experience. But I do have the experience of being in the private sector. And I understand how government overreach can suffocate private industry. And we're going to continue to lose people to surrounding communities, lose businesses, and that's tax revenue. And I want to protect the city's long-term viability as much as possible. I know this is not an easy job. It's a very difficult job. And this is going to be a very difficult ship to turn around, but I think we can do it.
I'm gonna just try to speak loud enough. Can you hear me in the back? We got you. Mr. Delano, you said a lot about tax base and real estate in the city. That's just one aspect of government, and which is very important when it comes to bringing money in. And that was the bulk of what you spoke on. What do you outside of that? Once you get this money, because we just received 84 million in ARPA funds, one which is unprecedented for the city, to do different things. So we just received money, ARPA, and what was the other? It was 2.7 for something else. So there's that. So when this money, when this tax base is raised and the money comes in, what skill set do you bring to the table when it comes with negotiation, working with others in government? Where is that in your pitch?
As I said, my main experience is working in the private sector. I've worked with people in the real estate business that own hundreds of properties in the city. I've worked with government agencies, but I haven't been in the government agency. I've worked directly with people as a government employee. So I'm bringing my experience in the private sector. That is my main skill set. And as I said before, I don't have the experience of being in the state senate. I don't have the experience of being in the county government or the township government. But I do have a lot of experience in the private sector dealing with people that pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in property taxes every year to the county. And I understand what they want and what they expect. And I want to keep them here. I don't want those people to leave. That's my primary experience. I also want to be able to make sure that we keep good firefighters in the city. That's another thing that I have a concern about. A lot of firefighters like to leave this department and go other places, and I've heard that from other firefighters that work in other departments. Maybe that's something we can solve with the collective bargaining agreement. That's something I'm open to talking to you about, and talking to the department, and talking to the union about, is getting a collective bargaining agreement. I can't guarantee anything. my priority is taking care of the city and the taxpayer first. But taking care of the fire department is also important.
Thank you, Mr. Delano. Our next mayoral candidate will be Senator Eddie Melton.
Good evening. First, I want to thank Local 359 for your leadership and all that you do for the community. We've truly seen a lot of growth in the organization under the leadership of Brother Tillman, Brother Benford, and all of the leaders in the organization. So the men and women, firefighters, the police officers, EMS, thank you. Thank you for your service. Typically, when the average person is running away from a situation, be it a fire, active shooter, you guys are running to it. So we thank you for putting your life on the line every single day. My name is Eddie Melton. I'm blessed to serve as your state senator, represent Senate District 3, which is Gary, Maryville, Hobart, Crown Point, Lake Station, and New Chicago. I was elected in 2016, served in 2017, and been there ever since my second term. Thank you for sending me down there. I don't look at it lightly because I represent you. I represent you in one of the most hostile states for a majority minority community. And I've still been blessed to bring resources back to this community. And that's not easy. But it has also taught me how to work across the aisle, how to bring those resources back. Which leads me to speak directly about, as a mayor, how it's important to work with your council. It's extremely important to make sure, even though we don't agree, even though we have differences, we can still work together because there's a common theme, because we care about the city here. So that's the main thing there. I was born and raised from Jefferson Elementary, Beckman Middle School, Horseman High School. All of that helped make me to the man that I am today. There's people in here that have invested in me and created me to love this city even more. The very first question I get every time I'm standing before people, either at a forum, Eddie, why are you leaving the Senate and running for mayor of Gary? Simple. I love this city. It doesn't get any complicated than that. Every city that touches the border of Gary in this region is prospering 20, 30, 40 years ahead of us. We're the city with all of the infrastructure and assets and resources, and yet we're still struggling behind. And it shouldn't be that way. It starts and stops with leadership. And I hate that the mayor left at this point in time, that he's here. Because this is an important night for us all to be here to talk to the men and women that protect us. And also to listen to the other candidates. And I respect Brother Walls, Mr. Delano, and I thank you both for sharing your thoughts and vision and ideas. This is a democracy. Brother Walls said something that kind of stuck in my mind. And I say this respectfully. He said, Senator Melton is just another politician. Clearly, he hasn't read my receipts. And I say that respectfully, brother. The dozens of children I've mentored over the years, they're not saying that. The nonprofit organizations I've helped, the Legacy Foundation, working at NIPSCO, and philanthropic endeavors, they're not saying that. So I've been there. But I respect that. You know why? Because even right now, I appreciate the passion you have for the city, and we still can work together, period. But let's talk about why we're here today. This is a public safety conversation. Only so long we can hide behind the pandemic. We can only use the pandemic for a certain length of time, but then I start evaluating, how did East Chicago make it? How did Hammond make it? How did Maryville make it? The pandemic touched everybody. We lost loved ones. But it also was a gift and a curse. The windfall of money, the $84 million that you spoke of, we will never see that again in this city. Well, in this generation. And we made the most wise decisions. Has it been transparent? I think the council are doing as much as they can to share what they're doing and what they're fighting for. And I've seen them fight for the police. I've seen them fight for the fire. But when I talk to the men and women that fight for us, they're still feeling low morale. They don't feel like they've been respected. They don't feel like they're valued or appreciated, especially when you don't have a contract in over 20 years. It starts with respect. And in the conversation, I don't think you can just simply say, you just don't have a contract. It's not that easy. I think there's a level of respect in the conversation we have to say, in good faith, let's start there. Let's figure this out. What are those barriers? How do we overcome those barriers? Clearly, we haven't had the resources in 20 years. No matter who's the mayor, they're not going to walk in office, snap their fingers, and money will start falling out of the sky. That shouldn't stop us from not having an agreement with the people that represent us and fight for us every single day. So, yes, it can be done. I hear the stories. I'm listening. I'm hearing the stories about inadequate training facilities. I went on a tour of our training facility off of 35th Avenue. I challenge you all to walk through that facility on those grounds. It looked like a war zone. They don't deserve that. The police department don't deserve to be serving in a building that was built in 1908. So it all starts to stop with what? Leadership. I will look for a chief of police first within the Gary Police Department. Period. There's qualified men and women that love this city that can do the job. We'll start there. I will look for a fire chief first within the city of Gary. So we can't hide behind not having the resources or not having the talent, because we have it. But when we talk about other issues, I heard about the living conditions of the fire department have to go through. Bed lights. I believe it's over 100 beds that can easily be replaced. Do we have the money for that? We just had $84 million. I'm pretty sure we could have bought 100 beds. Those simple things show that we're trying to work with. But over the next course, a couple of weeks, we'll be sharing what our vision and plan is. Not our imagination, but what our plan is for public safety as a whole. Before I close, let me just say this. This is very early in the, we got about 10 weeks left. And there's been some negative ads playing on TV and radio. I'm sure many of us seen it. That was a weak move. Very weak move, especially to mislead people with very weak truth or facts conjured up. There are lies, essentially. The people of Gary know me. People of Gary know me. My desire to serve. So I hope that the fear that you've shown, this pact that was created, the fear that you've shown of our candidacy running for the city of Gary, I hope on May 2nd, it will be shown with the landslide victory because of citizens' trust in new leadership, because Gary deserves better now. That's not a cliche. That's not a cliche. Now, this is living
Senator Melton. Just to ask, everybody sound good when they first come up and talk. They sell you the world, you know. They sell you the world, and so what? And for the people who say that, like, well, he's new into politics, he doesn't, you know, the stuff that he's talking about, he won't be able to achieve. Like that, that he's got his mind on the wrong things, and once he gets here, he'll understand. Like, what do you have to say to that?
Yeah, that's good. Let me just answer by this. Those are typically people that like vision. They like vision and are afraid of people that have vision. Because at this point in time, have we seen a plan for the city? No. What's the plan? What's the plan for public safety? Weird ideas. What's the plan for housing? Increase the housing market. We have to build a middle class. You know how we build a middle class? You take some of the ARP money. I go to the bank. I talk to the banks. Build a relationship and a partnership. You need CRA credits for the federal government. All right. I'm going to go to the fire department. I'm going to go to the police department. I'm going to go to the city workers. I'm going to go to the teachers. I'm going to say, you live in Maryville? You live in Hope? You live in Crown Point? Come back home. This is how we're going to do this. We're going to partner with the bank. We're going to give you a low interest, no interest loan and build you a brand new house again. That's how you start building that middle class. Because you guys may not have the starting salaries of a Maryville, Crown Point, and a Hobart. However, we can respect you and show you how much we appreciate you through incentives to keep you and bring you back home if we don't have the resources. That's an option, an opportunity we could have used with American Rescue Plan dollars. And hopefully, if it's not spent by the time I'm in office, we can consider that and expand upon that. So I'm sorry if I took too long to answer that.
Senator, I have one question for you. You mentioned about the ads, the negative ads. You know, hold it up. All right. You mentioned about the negative ads. A lot of us did see it. I saw it. And the main thing that they hit on was saying about the school system. Can you explain that? Uh-oh.
Put my hand on the Bible, I put my hand in the air, and I take an oath. I get pulled to the side the moment I'm sworn in, and they say, guess what? We got to shut your school corporations down. That was day one. We got to shut it down. Why? There's $100 million worth of debt. $18 billion owed back to the IRS for withholding employee taxes. However many millions it was. Those were the issues we were faced with. They called East Chicago, they called Hammond, they called Lake Ridge. How many kids can you take from Gary schools? It was planned already. Think about that. They had a heat map laid out on the table, said, these kids on this side of town will go here, kids on this side of town will go there. I said, you can't do that. You're looking for a civil rights lawsuit, shut down the majority minority public school corporation. So when people say, I'm the reason the school district is in a state takeover, that's a lie. Now, about truth. I had a bill, Senate Bill 566, not 67. Senate Bill 566 was not a state takeover. It dealt purely with the finances of the school corporation. 67 was the Republicans' bill, which took over the finances. One thing I learned, if you want to have impact on the bill, you have to follow that bill through the process. In my first year, I got on that bill. that passed because it's a Republican bill and a Republican majority state. So I can have influence throughout that process. This takeover could have been way worse than what it was if myself and others, other representatives, did not help chart and X out certain things that would have been more detrimental. I own that. Unlike certain leaders in the city, they don't own responsibility. And I will own that right here. Let me touch on a couple things else with that commercial. The donation aspect. So here's the deal. I had a very, very nice event at the here at Chicago Airport. 300, 400 people came out. And people from the emergency management team bought tickets at the door, just like every other person at attended that event. But guess what? I'm a transparent person, and I reported that. Ask the mayor, has that same team attending any of his events, and ask him if it's on his report. Ask him. I don't know. I haven't read it yet. I'm not even that interested because I'm running my race. The third part of that, let's talk about the referendum. I'm one person. One person. That referendum passed. Over 60% of voters in Erie voted for that referendum, whether you like it or not. I'm one person that had one vote. And they're saying I'm responsible for your progress. Sound like some Donald Trump spin master stuff. So I hope that answers the question when it comes down to the commercial.
We're going to move to the first district now. We're going to give it to Lord Lake. She's in the seat now.
Thank you, Brother Tillman, Brother Denver. I am so happy to be here. The mic is still hot, Eddie. Thank you very much. Let me tell y'all something y'all may not know about the Erie Fire Department and Local 359. We think about them as the very people who save our lives, and that is the only department with that in the mission throughout the whole city. Their very department, hey Trey, is to save our lives. But they also support every other department in the city. I work as a park director, and I would sit at tables with some of the people here today. I'm seeing some familiar faces, and they would talk about how to make sure our events were safe, our large-scale events were safe. They supported even our public works and general services departments. They would cut grass. They would shovel snow. So if no one else has told you all today, thank you so very much. And also, thank you. I also think it's important that we acknowledge that they support our entire city on a daily basis. Like you said, my name is Lori Latham. I'm currently serving at large as an at-large council person. I am running in the first district, however, and am hoping to gain your support today. I'm also from Gary. I was born and raised here. I've lived in almost every district of the city, though I reside now in Miller. I'm a graduate of Emerson School for the Visual and Performing Arts. I like to brag, the only accredited performing arts school in the state of Indiana at the time. I started in Gary as a community organizer. So again, when I say I'm grateful to be inside the room, that's a real thing because I've spent many days outside those doors with picket signs. I'm glad to finally be in with the cool kids. I served also as a public servant with the city administration. I see some Team Gary folks here today as the park superintendent as well as the youth services bureau. I say all that just to say I'm ready to serve. I've been in a couple different positions at multiple levels of government on the inside and the outside to see the process. Currently, as a council person, I'm very happy to be able to see some of the policy making opportunities that we have in our city. A lot of people ask me too why I'm running. I think that's where everybody tends to start. And the truth of the matter is, Gary has been very good to me. I've been given a lot of leadership opportunities in this city that I'm not sure I would have gotten other places. Gary is also my inheritance. My parents were from here. My grandparents moved up here in the 20s to work in the mill. So this is a network. This is a community that I feel like I've inherited, and it will be my children's inheritance. And what does that mean, right? When we think about that, this is the community that we're leaving to our children. It makes us all feel, it makes me feel at least a certain sense of responsibility to make sure what I leave my children is better, is more valuable, is something that they will want to have and to keep. I meet a lot of people from a lot of different places, and it became more real to me, I believe, after the summer of 2020 with Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd. Gary doesn't have a lot of things that a lot of other surrounding communities have, but it does have something that a lot of communities don't have. As I'm raising my children, at least in our city, there are certain things that they don't have to worry about. I don't worry about them as much, or at least being black is one less thing that they have to worry about. So that's a gift that we have. We are the culture of Indiana, and it's what everybody wants. In addition to our natural resources, our infrastructure, we have culture. The whole world looks to us for certain things that I feel like we could give, not only to Indiana, but to the rest of the country. Those are some of the things that I'm interested in talking about, raising our level of political discourse. We don't have to get lost in the weeds. We don't have to slam each other. We don't have to smear each other. We could talk about our ideas. We can share the things that are important to us. And in a democracy, we all have a voice and a vote to raise those things. I'm waiting on them to cut me off. I will keep talking, though. If not, thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have David Gearman.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming out here, taking the time out. It's important that you're here because you're going to be part of the solution. I want to thank the Gary Firefighters Local 359 for hosting this evening. I do want to congratulate first the class of 22-1 for making it through their probationary rookie year, so congratulations to them. I also want to congratulate Sarah Cannon for joining the Gary Fire Department team and family. Now, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the youngest of 4 kids. I have 2 children myself, 2 grandkids. I was born 8 miles from here. Gary's always been part of my life. I'm a previous small business owner. I know what it takes to work hard, to build something that you're proud of. Currently, for the last 17 years, I work for FedEx Corporation. They've been very, very good to me. One of my responsibilities with FedEx, I'm one of 10 in the country. I traveled the country promoting safety in the transportation industry, and that's important for me to be a Gary resident because there's 9 trucking companies in the city of Gary right now. I live and work in the city. I'm on all 4 corners of this city every day. I see the development, but I also see the areas that are in desperate need of help. I'm a commissioner of the Gary Port Authority. I'm on the elected board of the Etna Manor Revitalization Project, which I'm very proud of. I'm a member of the Miller MCC. But I have to tell you, I'm most proud of, I'm the president of Haven House Domestic Violence Shelter and Advocacy Center in Hammond. Haven House, we've protected and served hundreds of citizens of Gary over the years. I was a precinct committeeman where I lived before. I believe in serving and volunteering in my community, and my record has proven that. From cooking bratwurst at the Miller Garden Club to the Shoreline Committee, for delivering food. My partner Kathy and I delivered food to Station 7 and did some landscaping and volunteer for them. Why do I want to do this? I want to do it for all of you. I'm a first-time candidate. The situation is here now. We need to work together.
Our population from 1990 to now was 116,000 people in 1990. Now we're 68,000. We're all we have. We need to work together. Every community, house to house, block to block, community to community. It's important for me to be part of that. Elections are faith and trust. That's really what they are. I have the honor of saying I've been endorsed by the United Steelworkers District 7. That's Local 1066 and 1014. I've been endorsed by Carpenters Local 599 and Teamsters 142 right here on Clark in Gary. That didn't come easy. That's a 25-year commitment and relationships I've built with those organizations. So I'm excited to serve the residents. I've done it. I've proven. I want to serve the residents of the 1st District. They know my character. They know my work ethic. I just don't want to work in City Hall for them. I want to work in the streets. I've proven it. Public safety is one of the things that is most important to me. 2 years ago, I got a phone call that our lifeguards at Marquette and Lake Street did not have radios to communicate with each other. I couldn't believe it. So I went and got them radios. I purchased the radios. They can communicate with each other and their base. That's public safety. That's keeping everyone safe. I get calls and I'm the next door, right? A tree fell and blocked the path. Our paths to our lakes are important. It's important for emergency equipment to get down. Firefighters know that. Tree fell and broke. So what do? Jump in the garage, grab the chainsaw, go cut the tree down and move it out of the way. You know what? That's volunteerism and that's public service. And that's what I want to do for the 1st District. I'm very proud to be asked to be here this evening. And I just want to work with all of you in and outside the 1st District to make this city better. I see the development. I see the lots being cleared. I see the surveying stakes. But I also see a lot of areas that need some help. We can do it, but we have to be together. Again, we're all we have. There's 68,000 of us. We have to work together. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself to you. And I'm ready to go for you day one. So thank you so very much.
No, I'm just very happy to be here, and I don't need that right now. And it is warm. It's warm from Lori, and it's warm from Eddie still. So I am so honored to have the opportunity to come here and speak with you.
I want to thank the firefighters. I want to thank all my union brothers and sisters that I've helped over the years. I'm very proud of what I do. I'm committed to the 1st District. I am committed to the city of Gary. And I appreciate your support. I would appreciate and be honored with the endorsement of 359. And thank you so very much for being here. It means a lot that all of you are here.
All right, our next candidate is going to be Ms. Sandra Ford.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to do 2 housekeeping things. I heard a gentleman say that he's not a politician. We're in respect to all of the politicians, the elected officials, both former and present. I want to say it's an honor to be joining the ranks of the politicians because if you run for public office, sorry to tell you, you are a politician. We don't have an issue with politicians. We have an issue with politics. That's our issue, not politicians. And the city of Gary has been blessed with some very good politicians. And I just want you to give them all a hand right now. I also want to thank 359 and all the brothers for having us here, having this gathering, giving us a chance to speak our hearts to the people. I don't have anything deep or philosophical to say. I just want to tell you from my heart that I'm running because it's time for a change. It's time for true leadership with integrity. Not saying that the leaders before me did not have it, but it's time for a change in of the guard. At any time, we need to make a shift. And with our public safety, they have suffered tremendously. And on behalf of the citizens of Gary, I want to say, these are men and women who go into places that we dare not. These are men and women who go into places that we run out of. These are men and women, when I found out, I visited my local 7 fire station, because I'm not a fire expert and I don't claim to be. I wouldn't dare stand here and lie to you and act like I'm a public safety expert. So I went to the expert at my local number 7, and I asked, what are your greatest concerns? The fire station had been newly renovated, and this station is in the 1st district. I'm running for 1st district city council. The station had been newly renovated. They had 2 new rigs being constructed on the way. They had supplies, food supplies, as you know. They live in the station 2 days, so they actually have to eat. And they normally buy their food, but in most cases, they do have a budget. Their supplies had been met. The thing was staffing. They needed equipment, apparatus, scuba gear, different things like that, the uniforms, and I thought about it. I said, what difference does it make if we had new trucks, new skis, new scuba gear, new firehouses, and no one to operate? We have a city with, I think we are at, correct me if I'm wrong, we're at 168 firemen, 143 for the whole entire city, from 300 to 168 for the same city. 143, I'm sorry, for the same city. You do the math. We have 13 stations, and I think only 8 are operational. 7 are operational. We have, the worst I hear is on 25th, which is deplorable. We can work with our local unions. We can work with our local contractors. I've done it in the business sector. I come from the nonprofit grassroots business sector. It's what we did. We partnered. We collaborated. We leveraged funds. It's possible. We don't have to tax the city budget in order to get what we need. If you think of the city as a business, because it is a business, and we should be about the city's business as elected officials. Not my business, not your business, but the city's business. And that's one of our issues. We're about our business. We're on our agenda. We're not looking at the people's agenda and what's right for all. Sometimes I may have to compromise what I want in order for us both to win. I've watched city council meetings that went nowhere because no one was willing to acquiesce. No one was willing to compromise. We can't go on like that. A house divided against itself cannot stand, will not stand. It's time for a change. It's time for us to stop putting politics over the people. I love Chelsea. I've known her. And if she run against me, I'm not going to hate her. She has the constitutional right to run for whatever office she wants to. And if I run and I'm not successful, I should work with her. Because we all bring something to the table. We all have something to offer. Gary, too, has been so good to me, Lord. So good to me. I thank God for this community. I thank God for the grand lady. We want to dress her up again. We want to put her on display again. We was a leader at one time. Our public safety actually helped other communities. And now we're receiving it. It's time for it.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move to the second district, and we have.
We're going to allow one of our captains, Captain Rickard Robertson, to just put a question on the floor, so all the candidates in the second district might touch it.
Okay. Captain Robinson. I've been with the Gary Fire Department 31 years. I'm on the west side of Gary, and I run all the way up in the second district. The biggest problem we have in the second district is Station 8 is closed. Station 9 is open half the time. But what we got going on is they are tearing down schools, and they dropping truck plates. We got the jump jump. We got those dumps. It seems like everything toxic is coming on that side of the city, and second district is a big part of it. So for the second district council people, I need to know your plan for demolition, your strategic plan for when you tear down demolition and doing any kind of demolition. Understand? Question? All right. Because I'm in a station that the windows don't open. So I need to know all of this because we're in the toxic area.
So this organization belongs to the whole membership. This symbol that you see on the front of this podium wouldn't mean nothing without the men and women that go out and serve every day. And so their concerns are concerns of ours. It might not be the first on my agenda, but if they have something to say, that's why they put me here, to listen to them. So that is a question from a member that's been on the department 33 years, 31 years. All right, that's a long time to serve the city. So this question should be answered. All right. Then I have Councilman David Fawcett.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is David Foster. Thank the fire department for putting this forum on. It's a really great thing to say for the people concerned about the city of North Carolina. I was born and raised here in Gary, Indiana. Grew up in the Horseman area. I just want to say that I'm really excited to serve the city of Gary council. After I graduated from college, before I graduated from college, I did an internship at the city of Gary, and I left Gary and I moved to California. I stayed in California for years. I would travel all over the world working with my family. Whenever I went somewhere, I would ask me where was I from. I said, California, but I was born in Gary. It was Gary, and they would get excited. That being said, this city is known for everything. We got athletes, we got entertainers, we got everybody out here. They doing tremendous things to help the city. I'm one of them. I came back here. I'm the one that put that statue up in Jackson. I'm the one that reminded me of all the guys. I fight for my family all the time. I'm trying to come back here and bring something back to here. They never do. I brought the statue, put that statue up, and did the house. Me and my auntie stayed up tonight. thing that we don't understand. We have to have money to do things. We have to have money to tear buildings down. We have to have money to clean up. As you've been constituents, I would like to reach out my hand and ask them to help. I would like all of us to work together. We come together as providers and council. We come together as one. I love all of them. I love all my constituents. There's nothing bad about it. We just got to come together as a community. We need to help our community. We need to help clean up. A lot of times people will call and they'll complain and say this is not being done and this is not being done. It's not the point of not being done. We don't have the money to do everything. We could clean up a block and as soon as we turn the corner, somebody turn the corner and dump it again. So it takes us to take these phones out and catch these people and try and get us a lawsuit. And second of all, buildings that are coming down and not being used or utilized, and this is for Mr. Robinson over there. Mr. Robinson, we're working hard to get these buildings down that you're talking about. I understand that the fire stations are not up and running, all of them. We got to get money to make that happen. I'm not the administration, but I am on the council. And as a being on the council, we are going to work together to try to get some money. We got 3-4 universities around here. And if we went to these kids and asked them for ideas of how we can raise money or how we can get these things going back in Gary, I'm sure that they would have ideas for it. And all we have to do is just ask them for the ideas to how we build this city. This is a beautiful city. Everybody is always talking about Gary, and not just for the Jackson. Gary is just a good city. We have water, we have a train system, we have everything going on. Infrastructure is being rebuilt as we talk now. Sanitary district is putting in new sewers. All we need to do is give ourselves a chance to help rebuild this city.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Councilman Thompson. Next candidate, Mitchell Armstrong Sr.
Everybody, we have some refreshments over here. If you all want to sneak over there and get some refreshments or some drink. First, before I start, I would like to pause for a minute. A friend of mine, Phil, Mary. Every day I get up, think about myself. I'm running for the second district. My name is Mitchell Armstrong. I'm a pastor at Mount Moran Free Will Baptist Church. 3 years ago, I became a bishop. I've been pastor for 27 years. I've been married for 36 years. I've been a precinct committeeman for 22 years. And I've seen buildings torn down. I've helped clean up the community. Mike Proto was councilman for 2nd District. As many times I called him to get a dumpster. So dumpsters to help clean up my community. It was said at one time that precinct committeemen does not have to clean up their community or get engaged with cleaning up their community. I beg to differ. Because one thing about it is this: if you clean up your community, you will clean up your mind. And the thing is, it's oftentimes when you look out your door every day, you see filth. Do nothing but bring your morale down. I graduated from Gary Roosevelt.
class of 8. I took and went to the Gary Career Center. Look at Hammond, all these other places, their career centers are doing a whole lot. And I just commend the Gary community school system at that time for having a Gary area community career center. I took up auto body repair there. And at that time in the 80s, there were no jobs when I came out in 1980. No jobs in Gary, but I found out that there was a lot of welders that were going over in Chicago Heights, and they were making good money welding. And I want to tell you this much. Yes, the second district is the heartbeat of Gary. Let me say it again. It is the heartbeat of Gary. Let me say it one more time. It is the heartbeat of Gary. Because we have our fire departments. We have our police departments. We have our hospitals. We have our edge water. We have a whole lot of things a lot of resources in the second district that people need to look at. And it is no joke that somebody needs to stand up and be a voice in the second district. And I want to be that voice. I want to be that voice in the second district to let everybody know that whatever that I can do, they call me, I sing a song called Christian Automobile, and they call me the steering wheel. And I want to tell y'all something. I will be the councilman that you can put your hand on when you need to talk to me. And I'll be a voice for the fire department. I want to thank them right now because a few years ago I went through some police brutality, and I was refused some medical treatment. And I want to tell you something. When I reported it, the Gary Fire Department stood up, and they sent me a letter of apology because that paramedic refused me treatment at that time. And I just want to tell you all, stand up. Keep doing what you're doing. And for those people that's connected with you all that don't stand and serve, you need to rat them out. God bless you.
Now we have for the second district, Portia Newsom.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Amen. Praise God. I wasn't expecting him to call me this day. But yes, I'm running in the second district for councilwoman one more time. And I was going along my way, and I saw some bumper stickers that said, "Born again, God is good, get saved. He's soon to come." And there was a passerby that cut this individual off, and she began to point the finger and swear and say all kinds of manner of things. And the police stopped her. And she said, "Now why are you stopping me?" And he said, "Because I know this must be a stolen car." I'm glad y'all caught that. We don't behave like that. And that's the stigma that the city of Gary has. We do not behave like that. We're better than that. The city means a lot to me. I left for almost 25 years. I came back, but I've been back home for a while. I left when I was young, but I've been back home for a while, back about 2007. And I came back to care for my people because that's what we do. We don't send them to nursing homes. Charity starts at home, and then it spreads abroad. And when I came back here in 2007, my heart reached. Because when I left here, Gary was beautiful in 1984. Gary was a beautiful place. I was proud to call it my home. But when I came back here in 2007, I saw the decline in the city, and it hurt me to my heart. So when I wasn't taking care of Mom, I started a campaign of my own. I had a pitchfork, and And I was out there down Fifth Avenue as far as I could walk. And I wasn't that young then. I was in my mid-40s. But I began to pick up paper, and people asked me, why are you doing this? I said, because I don't want to live like this. And if I believe if you want to represent something, you must first do it yourself. Don't ask somebody else to do it. You know, you get out there and do it. And so people joined me. And a few more years passed, I was still doing that, and I couldn't do it because I was getting older. And so I paid people to do it. I mean, I paid reputable landscaping companies out of my own pocket. I didn't ask anybody for anything. I did go to the city, and I did ask them, could we start a block club? And they gave me their views on it. And I didn't know a block club consisted of several blocks. When I was growing up, it consisted of one block. Okay, you want me to come in? Okay. Government has three legs. There's a police department, there's a fire department, and there's a general service. And all of those departments have went from a staff of 300 down to, I heard them say 140 for the fire department, but about 25 people for the general service department. That's a sin and shame. How can we operate a city of this size with 25 people? They can get to each district. They'll get to each district probably one time within a year. One time. But we're out here, and we're actually paying people to cut the lot, the vacant lot, to keep our homes and your homes beautiful, paying people to shovel snow. I have receipts to prove it. And I'll do that when I'm elected second district councilwoman. God bless you. God bless you.
Mr. Robert Campbell. Let me just give you the best greeting that you give to a human being is Assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. Thank you. And the response, the reason why I said that, I'm telling you peace be unto you instead of telling you rest. Let you know that peace is very important. I have a history. When I got out of the Navy in 1966, when I got out of the Navy in 1966, I was talking to people in the neighborhood in Chicago, and I said, our people need it. And I happen to be part of the people because I need it. I was a Boy Scout leader. I've been a basketball coach. I volunteered at the Boys and Girls Club. I'm a former member of the Black Panther Party. And the thing that I appreciate about the Black Panther Party, we started the Breakfast for Children program. I was one of the persons that helped initiate it in the city of Chicago. I'm out of Chicago. I'm one of the West Side guys. Then we dealt with sickle cell anemia. Young people. I was one of the oldest in there. I was about 23, 24. We did a wonderful job. I volunteered at the Jefferson Elementary School. I didn't miss a day. I would go and read to the second graders. I would monitor the halls. Wouldn't have no trouble. Teachers asked me to take young people to a person to the office. When I get him down to the office, I ask him a question. What do you want to do? Go in the office, or do you want to go back upstairs? He said upstairs. I sent it back upstairs. No more trouble. I believe in treating children with dignity and respect. One of my mentors said, we should give our children their inheritance. You know what their inheritance is? What we know and what we understand. Your parents gave you your heritage.
wouldn't listen, but you had to get your head bumped 3 or 4 times, maybe 1 or 2 for some. One of the guys that has always introduced me as a mentor, he's doing very well. He came up here and spoke to you. I'll let you leave that in your own mind and think to figure it out. I believe in walking the streets. I believe in talking to people. I believe in service. Service is my major product. I haven't ran out of it yet. When they're talking about negotiating, getting along, we need to. There's a need. I believe in doing what's right. And the Creator has given each and every one of us, He's given us our trust. I don't care what ethnicity, whatever, whoever, it's your trust. One of the things the Creator said, don't betray your trust. And then I put my trust in the Creator. And He shows us mercy. He has 100 mercies, but He only has to show us one. He only shows one. That's how bad. I believe in doing what's right. I believe in treating the children right. When I see the former students at Jefferson Elementary School, hey, Mr. Campbell, hey, Mr. Campbell. I believe in treating people with dignity and respect. If a guy tell me, Mr. Campbell, I'll kick your so-and-so and so, you know what I said? No, thank you. I'm not interested. All right. So, I love the fire department. I know what they do. I see them when they pass by, I wave. Sometimes they might come from, it's the thing. I like all of the candidates, especially the young ones. They're serious. And I'll tell you, I fought hard that they didn't get rid of our garbage. We fought hard not to bring that prison system so they could take the immigrants out of the country. Because once they finish taking the immigrants out of the country, that's for who? Young brothers. And I believe in education. Education is the key. If they know how to read, they can expand. Frederick Douglass was a reader. Malcolm was a reader. And I think I'm a lightweight reader. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
You're very welcome.
Bernice Clark. We're going to tighten up on 5 minutes that we were extending and very soon. But just to be mindful of everybody else here. So we can start stepping up.
Good evening. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? I want to begin by thanking the fire department for all they do. From emergency preparedness, to medical response, to serving educators, and behind the scenes work that we don't know about the community. Thank you. I have executive experience, medical experience, and one of the things that I want to say is we all know to do a good job, we have to have resources. So one of the things that I want to say to the class, I will work to make sure you have the capital and the time to be successful and safe to save the city and the citizens and our infrastructure community. I also will advocate for dollars for parks, schools, things that other cities take for granted, repaired sidewalks. We don't have those things. These are everyday things that we have to go without. I also will work on making this city great again, building wealth, so the square becomes a city that's going to live in, raise a family, and to expand the city. I just want to say again, I want to be a candidate, and as far as strategic development, I talk about that because within the city of Gary, we do a lot of demolition, but what we do is scatter. And what we need to do is be proactive. A lot of business is coming to the city. We should already have an area already developed for light industrial business, for just development. But we just do scatter demolition. I mean, it's great when they come down, but then they don't do anything. All we have is overgrown
what I would do again is work on one of the things I really want to see done is strategic zone. Thank you. I want to be the second district person.
Thank you. Next up, we have Dwayne Halliburton.
I don't clap for myself, nobody else will. Once again, thank you. This opportunity for me to present myself to you. Let us put our hands together for our brave men and women of the Fire Department, 359. Also, we have our Gary Police Department, EMT. Let's put our hands together for our first responder. Also, put our hands together for our politician that's here today. Put our hands together for our politicians that's here today. Thank you very much. My name is Dwayne Halliburton. I was here a couple of months ago, and I was trying to get the position that Brother Fawcett is now in the Second District Council. However, I didn't get a vote. And in fact, I didn't get zero, no support. And I said to myself, what do you do, Dwayne Halliburton? Do you just moan on it, or do you swallow? What do you do? Do you just what do you do? You just make noise, or do you go out here and make a concerted effort to make it happen? And that's what I'm doing. Second district is very unique to me. I was born in East Chicago, however, I grew up in Gary. I grew up in the Brownsville area. I went to Edison Middle High School. I attended Gary West Side, graduated in 1983. Afterwards, I went into the military. I joined the United States Marine Corps for 7.5 years. I was a paratrooper in the military, as well as a weapons instructor, as well as a troop captain. Decided to get out, to continue on my education. Came back home in 1991. Indiana University Northwest, where I got a degree in Bachelor's of Arts. I thought that I wanted to become a civil rights attorney, but it cost so much. So in the meantime, I was employed myself. Well, I was asked to be teacher's aide in Chicago, where I must say it must have been one of my #1 job I ever had, because I had the opportunity to speak with and work with children. Children is very important to me. I was there for 9.5 years. I did everything from being a scout leader to being a DJ. Whatever you wanted me to do, I was going to be there. I had an opportunity around 1998 to apply for the Indiana State Police, in which I am now almost 23.5 years with that department. I have played many roles as a state police officer. I was a firearms instructor, tactical instructor, background investigator. I did a lot of investigations. I am a recruit advisor. I am a panel interviewer for the state police. So I've done many things. But the most important thing that came to my life is that while I'm here, what would be your history? My time? Oh, sorry about that. No, I'm going to sum it up. My name is Dwayne Halliburton, 2nd District Council. Public service #1. I did that for 37 years. Vote for me.
Thank you. Attention to detail. The question was about the demolition and your comprehensive plan in the second district. That's the type of stuff that we pay attention to. When we put a question on the floor, I mean, you might say some things, but answering the question of the membership is the vote. That's what this is a learning moment. This is part of the problem that we've been having is we put out what we want answered, what we are having an issue with, and get a comprehensive response to what we ask for. That's a big thing. We'll work for who's ever in the office, but remember, I'm nervous too. This is good news for me. But remember, if somebody asks you a question, in this membership that you're dealing with, or whenever during this election time, remember, answer what they ask. Right? All right. Now we're going to move to District 3. Can we get Councilwoman Mary Brown?
Good afternoon. The first thing I want to say is I am prepared for progress. I am committed to service. My name is Mary Brown. I am the 3rd District Councilwoman. I have been on the council long enough to know that if you cannot get your colleagues to work with you to get something done, it doesn't happen. We have to be able to work together, and we are able to work as a group. So that is all I want to say, is that I have been able to work with my colleagues, and I have done it for a whole lot of years. I've been there a long time, and I just think that, as I said, I am prepared for progress. I'm committed to service. I have done service for many years. I have worked in my district, the 3rd District, for a lot of years, done a lot of work, plan to do a lot more. So that's all I want to say. Thank you for asking me. Thank you for the local 359. Oh, there's one other thing I need to say. You know, I used to be a union person. I worked for U.S. Steel. I was a member of Local 2695, which is the salary local for the steel mill. So I am certainly in favor of whatever you're doing as union people, because I have been there. And so I just want to say that, and I am done. I thank you for asking me. And as I said once again, I am prepared. I am committed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. That's our nephew being firefighter too. All right. Next, we're going to have Anthony Manuel.